Yes, Your Honor. At this time, we'd like to call Frankie Fernandez to the stand.
Frankie Fernandez? No lying, okay?
Please state your name for the court.
Francesca Maria Giovanni Fernandez, but everybody calls me Frankie.
Ms. Fernandez, what brings you to court with us today?
I was a customer on the July 3rd through the 10th scuba diving expedition to the Hepburn wreckage with Neptune Underwater Expeditions. That's how I met Lee and Andy Allen. Since I was there, I wanted to help Andy because I felt horrible that he lost his wife. I just got married too, so I know how he feels, you know.
What experience do you personally have with scuba diving?
Well, not to brag, but I am an expert scuba diver. I've completed 162 dives and have my advanced open water certification. I could have my master scuba diving status if I wanted to do diving for a living, but that's not my passion. I really want to own my own bakery and be like that guy on Cake Boss, so I spend all of my time doing that. But anyway, I'm only technically a recreational diver, but I have gone to every major wreck and cave dive there is.
How does the Hepburn expedition compare to the other dives?
Well, normally I go to really deep sites because the deepest part of the Hepburn is 190 feet, but I've been to 210 feet to the Andrea Doria. It's considered the Mount Everest of scuba diving, but the Hepburn wreck is very deep under the water, and I don't go to wreck dives that deep normally.
Well, what did you think of Neptune?
Neptune was very different from the other dive companies I've used. About 50 of my dives have been with dive companies, and Neptune had the lowest requirements I've ever seen. I was a little surprised that Neptune was willing to take true recreational divers to a shipwreck that is so deep in the water.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I've been diving since I was 6 years old, and I've never heard of a company willing to take recreational divers below 130 feet. That's like the standard, you know? When I met the other customers, I assumed they would all be really experienced divers, but they weren't.
Which customers were inexperienced divers?
The least experienced couple was definitely Lee and Andy Allen. They each had only 50 dives. My partner, Kate Beck, was a little inexperienced too, but not like that. She had gone with me diving to Disney World, and those dives were about 130 feet. I just didn't expect that anyone going to this expedition would have only 50 dives.
Well, moving forward, how is this expedition scheduled?
Well, all of the customers were staying on the Neptune's yacht, the Man of the People. On board were our Neptune guides like Casey French and Reggie Rogers. The CEO, Hayden Hathaway, was there with us as well. For the first few days of the trip, we did 5 dives in the Florida Keys and Bahamas. Every time we got in the water, we followed Reggie Rogers while Casey French was behind us.
From what you saw, how did the Allens perform compared to the other divers?
Andy was a natural, pero ay Dios mío, Lee on the other hand was awful. On the easy dives in the Keys, Lee was always lagging, ignoring directions from the guides, not looking at her oxygen correctly, and generally struggling. On the tougher dives in the Bahamas, Lee was even worse.
Do you know if anyone from Neptune saw this too?
Of course, Reggie and Hayden both asked Lee about how she was performing on July 6th. Lee's mouth and eyes were saying 2 completely different stories. I don't know why they didn't pull her from the dive for the first Hepburn dive on July 7th, especially since Neptune brochure says that they can pull a diver without any refund, but they didn't.
Let's move forward to July 7th. What time were you diving that day?
Well, the plan was that we were supposed to begin at 10 a.m. and resurface at 10:42.
What did you do before the dive?
At 9:45, we did our normal short pre-dive instructions. Neptune never treated us anything other than like expert divers, and this morning was the same. Reggie told us that French would be the dive leader at the front of the group and that he would be the dive master. That was the complete opposite from every other dive we've done so far.
And what was your reaction to this change?
I mean, this didn't really surprise me that much, but the next one did though. Reggie said that Andy wouldn't be diving that day. Instead of pulling Lee from the dive, it looked like Reggie was going to be her partner too. I didn't think it was a bad idea, but it was a little surprising because I had never seen a dive guide person pair with a customer before.
Was there anything else before the dive?
There were just some conversations between me and Reggie. Other than that, no. We started the dive on schedule at 10 a.m.
Could you please walk us through the dive plan for that day?
Sure. After we started going down to the Hepburn at 10 a.m., we would go to the top deck, which is at 170 feet. At 10:06, we would explore the deck for about 14 minutes and then begin going back up at 10:20. Including decompression stops, the ascent would take 22 minutes.
And did the July 7th dive follow that plan?
Ay, Dios mío, absolutely not.
At what point did the dive stray from that plan?
At 10:13, there was un poquito problema. I was reaching the entrance of the enclosed part of the upper deck when a surge hit me from behind. My gear got caught in the wreckage. I mean, this kind of stuff happens on dives all the time, but I was tangled really badly.
How did you manage to get untangled?
Well, obviously, I could not do it by myself. Reggie Rogers came to rescue me. When divers get stuck, they're given a knife, and Reggie used hers to free me. Gracias a Dios, pero if she did not, I wouldn't have made it.
Who was with you at this time?
Well, visibility was pretty bad, so I couldn't see anyone other than me and Reggie. I knew Kate was around somewhere, though. She wouldn't leave me, and you're never supposed to leave your buddy, but I couldn't see where she was.
What was Lee doing at this time?
Lee was waiting on Reggie. When I was almost free, though, Lee did like this.
Your Honor, please let the record reflect that the witness is holding a fist with the thumb pointed down.
It's the symbol to go down. Everyone knows that. I didn't really know what she meant, though, since we were already told that we weren't going down anyplace else that day. So I got Reggie's attention. Reggie turned around and thought for a moment, and then pulled out her dive slate and wrote Lee a message that said, "Go ahead."
What did Lee do?
Lee swam off in the direction of the group. I didn't think much of it at the time, but this turned out to be the last time I ever saw Lee Allen again. Lee was such a sweet woman. I feel so bad for Andy. He loved her so much.
Your Honor, no further questions.
Thank you, Counselor. Does the defense have a cross-examination?